Gaming as an industry and a business has evolved considerably over the past decade or so. Starting the 2010s as an industry heavily reliant on physical game sales and organic original content, it now owes a significant chunk of its income to downloads, independent modders and DLCs. Even though marketing has always been important, this shift in focus has emphasised the integral role played by advertising in gaming more than ever. However, this enormous reliance often has a pendulum effect, with several production studios swinging too far towards prioritising the marketing aspect of a title and neglecting the quality of the actual game they're selling in the first place. Graphics, immersive gameplay and narratives are more advanced than ever before in gaming, which has inadvertently raised the expectations of the everyday consumer. In some cases though, even the lowest of standards still prove too much of a feat for a number of titles. In this video, we will count down 9 heavily anticipated and hyped games which ended up being absolutely terrible. Number 9. Brink. The marketing and build-up for the release of this first-person shooter was astonishing. Released in 2011 by Bethesda Softworks and Splash Damage, Brink seemed destined to become a modern classic, but all that came crashing down once people actually played it. The promise of a heated Civil War-style storyline between two rival factions was mostly not represented by the missions. There was no fluent storyline leading between missions, making it seem more like a series of disconnected, isolated events from the same universe, rather than all being part of the same narrative. Gameplay itself was also criticised for being repetitive and one-dimensional, with only a limited number of weapons and soldier classes being available to the players. The artwork and character fluency of the game still holds up today as impressive, but every other aspect of this honestly unpolished title was quite a letdown. Number 8. No Man's Sky. Open world games have soared in popularity in recent years, originating on PC games such as World of Warcraft and gradually modernising through games like Fable, Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto. Games focused on exploration are now one of the cornerstones of today's gaming industry. This idea of exploration was what made No Man's Sky such an exciting prospect. This space exploration game highlighted colourful, abstract graphics and the monumental scale of the game in its marketing campaign, claiming that there were billions of planets to explore in the almost infinite No Man's Sky universe. However, No Man's Sky was shot down once it came out due to its tedious and repetitive gameplay, which left many players feeling dissatisfied with the survival aspects. Exploration-wise, this game was nothing short of groundbreaking, but the gameplay itself and variety of activities within the game leave a lot to be desired. Number 7. WWE 2K20. WWE's television ratings have been on a gradual decline for the past 5 years or more now, so it was inevitable that this dip in product quality would eventually spread to the company's gaming wing. 2K20 was a glitch-ridden, buggy, storyline-lacking, physics-ignoring mess. Character models looked rushed at best and downright disturbing at worst. It seemed as if WWE had stepped back into the SmackDown vs Raw days of the late noughties with the graphics, and the gameplay was somehow much worse. Game Progress said 2K20 played like an untested work-in-progress demo, and the game's Metacritic score peaked at just 45 out of 100. It was named among the worst games of the year by IGN, Metacritic and PlayStation Universe, and was nominated for the Worst Event Award by WrestleCrap, but lost out to WWE Hell in a Cell 2019. Number 6. Falling Skies, the game. The TV series Falling Skies started off as an inquisitive pilot episode which dipped its toe into the vast world of post-apocalyptic science fiction, and ended up becoming one of the most popular sci-fi series of its time. This success led to a huge spread of franchising, such as clothing, artwork, and, most relevant to this video, gaming. The Falling Skies console game was marketed heavily by Fox as they looked to capitalise on the show's popularity. Sadly, the end result of this game was rushed, buggy, repetitive, and just generally poor in almost every sense. The graphics were terrible and struggled to match the quality of most mobile games, let alone rival console titles. The character movement was erratic and robotic, and the clunky nature of the game as a whole made it impossible to bear. However, no matter how disappointing the Falling Skies game was, it still pales in comparison to the show's Season 5 finale. Number 5. Fallout 76. Despite the fact that Bethesda are a gaming studio with a generally positive reputation, even they aren't safe from the grips of this list. Fallout was originally developed as a turn-based PC game in the late 90s and was revived in 2008 when the iconic Fallout 3 arrived on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The franchise blossomed from here on out, until the momentum came to a crashing halt in 2008 due to the fanbase shattering entity known as Fallout 76. This game seemed like a half-baked effort from Bethesda to cash in on the trends of the time, and it backfired massively. Launch week sales for Fallout 76 were down by 82% from Fallout 4, which led Forbes to describe the launch of the game as historically bad. Sadly for Bethesda, the reviews were just as flattering. Not a single notable gaming magazine or website gave Fallout 76 a favourable review, with most sites such as GameSpot and The Guardian absolutely panning it. Since its release, Bethesda have tried to claw back lost ground with a series of add-ons and DLC packs, but Fallout 76 remains an unsatisfactory addition to the franchise. Number 4. FIFA 21. FIFA's transition from a casual franchise you can enjoy with friends to a major platform for competitive esports has completely changed the nature of its gameplay. The reaction from fans concerning this change has been mixed, but the sales suggest this was mainly a good move. Despite a portion of serious esports gamers not taking FIFA seriously, the games have maintained generally consistent reviews through the years, and every release usually picks up at least 2 or 3 awards. However, all this may be about to change after the car wreck that was the series' latest instalment, FIFA 21. IGN's review of FIFA 21 claimed it was virtually unchanged from the previous release, while PC and PlayStation reviews tanked compared to the reviews for FIFA 20. A wave of average or at best mixed reviews across most gaming platforms were not helped by the fact that FIFA is slowly losing license agreements with a number of huge teams. For example, FIFA 21 does not include teams like River Plate from Argentina, Corinthians from Brazil, Juventus, AS Roma, and other clubs are sure to follow, like star players leaving a club on the brink of relegation. Number 3. Just Cause 4. A surefire way of killing off a booming franchise is to release a sequel that is exactly the same as its predecessor, but worse. Sadly, Avalanche weren't made aware of this until it was too late. Just Cause 3 was praised for its varied, diverse, open-world gameplay and slightly satirical approach to a generally stern and serious gaming genre. However, Avalanche's attempt to recreate these in Just Cause 4 fell short in a few areas. Even though the open-world aspects were still great, the voice acting and cutscenes were, at best, laughable. Perhaps this was a deliberate ploy from Avalanche to distract you from the bland and eventless storyline, which dragged the overall quality down considerably. The number of copies sold by Just Cause 4 upon launch were much lower than expected, and it performed so badly that the sales profits didn't even cover the production costs. All in all, Just Cause 4 was a pure disaster, despite the fact it picked up a few award nominations, presumably out of sympathy. Number 2. Star Wars Battlefront 2015. The original Star Wars Battlefront games were amongst the best-selling PlayStation 2 games of all time. To this day, they are treasured as classic action games, with Star Wars Battlefront 2 considered by many to be the best Star Wars game of all time. When EA announced the reboot of the franchise, in conjunction with the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens in 2015, nostalgic fans were on the edges of their seats in anticipation of the game's return. Fans wanted, and in some cases were expecting, a simple remaster of the original games, but what they got was something entirely different. The 2015 version of Star Wars Battlefront offered a mere handful of playable maps, no campaign missions, and just 6 hero characters available on the vanilla version of the game. Other heroes such as Greedo and Lando Calrissian were later added through DLCs, but the damage by this point had already been done, and negative reviews flowed freely from every angle. Number 1. Cyberpunk 2077. Considering the scale of this game in terms of production, budget and marketing, Cyberpunk 2077 had the potential to become a generation-defining release. Armed with a $300 million budget, the release of this game was hyped to astonishing scales, to the point that Cyberpunk had won dozens of awards before it had even been released. This hype turned into a negative once the game came out, as several aspects of the game were heavily criticised by fans. AI characteristics, crashing, visual glitches, low frame rates for the console version, and low quality open world textures have all been the main targets from critics since the game launched. On top of this, Cyberpunk police seemingly appear out of nowhere when you require a wanted level, which does no favours for the immersive nature of the game. Considering this game took 8 years and 500 staff members to make, Cyberpunk 2077 is at best a moderate letdown. And there you have it. There is our rundown of 9 overly hyped games that turned out to be somewhat less than we were promised. Do you agree? Have we missed some games out? Let us know in the comments below. I've been Chris from Invicta Media, and as always, thank you for watching.